Well, hello, 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 unstoppable lionesses. How are you today? You don't have to endure me for 45 minutes again. I'm very, very happy that my guest today is Miss Celeste LaRue, who is a very dear sister friend of mine. And I'm really, really excited about the conversation we're going to have this morning. In case you do not know who I am Dr. Koylette James, and this is the Unstoppable Lioness Show. So, Miss Celeste, welcome to the show.
Excited to visit with you and everybody else that's tuning in. We go a little ways back, so we've got lots to talk about, lots of history.
Yes.
I'm excited today.
You know, I am always blessed by kingdom connections. And you know when it's a kingdom connection because God puts a special bond on that connection. And I believe that that is what we have. We met in Tennessee back in like 2008 or something, 2009, way back then.
I don't remember how, though. Do you remember how we met?
I think it was through Bill, and I don't remember Bill's last name, but remember they used to do these meetings, these business meetings.
Oh, Bill Campbell.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Bill and Kathy Campbell. They're on my list to reach out to because I'll be back in Nashville from Daphne, Alabama in January.
Okay. Just visiting, right? Not moving.
No, not moving, but the Tennessee Christian Chamber has asked me to come back and speak. We're having a reunion in January on the 20th. Can I plug it?
Of course.
January 20th at Hillsborough Church of Christ in Green Hills area. It's my baby is 18 years old now. So we're having a reunion, a celebration, reaching out to all of our original members, speakers, sponsors over the last 18 years to just come back together and bring some new energy back to the Tennessee Christian Chamber. It's COVID really hurt a lot of event-focused organizations, and so Kathy Truitt, she's the executive director now. She's done a fantastic job of carrying the torch. And now that I'm starting this Coastal Alabama Christian Chamber, she and I have had a lot to talk about. So
that's amazing. And I love the way you put it, that your baby is 18 years old now because you birthed that out.
Yes.
That's an amazing feat, to be able to go back and see, how your baby has grown and the fact that it is still there. You literally built legacy in what you did because it was able to carry on after you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think we miss that. We're so busy trying to hold on to stuff and we want our name on it and what have you. But the whole thing is about building legacy. What are you leaving behind? Mm-hmm. And you left something in place that could be built upon. I love that.
Well, it's so true, Koylette, because that's kind of been the theme of, based on where I am in my life right now. I don't want to just leave a legacy for me, but I want to have an impact for Christ. Mm-hmm. And when I was running the Tennessee Christian Chamber of Commerce, after 4 years, it was kind of an intentional decision to say, okay, I know that I have nurtured this, birthed this, cared for this organization, grew this organization, but the only way I'm going to know whether or not it's worthy of sustainability is to walk away. Mm-hmm. It's almost like Hannah, handing over Samuel
mm-hmm.
to the rabbi in the temple. Elkanah, was that the
Eli?
Eli was the rabbi.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so her husband was Elkanah. There was an
I believe so. That was her husband.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I had to hand over the baby, and I had to walk away. I just felt like if it was meant to live on, that somebody else is going to have to spearhead it. It couldn't just be me. Mm-hmm. And I'm a project kind of person anyway. It's like, okay, when it starts getting too routine for me, I need a new challenge. Mm-hmm. So that was Ralph Dries. Actually, he was the retired executive director of the Murfreesboro Chamber of Commerce. He had just retired and he was the first to succeed me. And then I think we've had in Tennessee probably 3 others, and then Kathy Truitt. And she started early on as a membership committee chair.
Okay.
And yeah, so now she's doing a great job keeping everything together, being the glue.
Awesome. I love that, when you got to that place, you didn't try to hold on. I believe that there are a lot of people that are stuck in places that they shouldn't be in. And it's because they're trying to hold on to something that it's time to release. That it's time to release. One of the things that I love about you is you've never been afraid to step out and to try something new, to just to pivot, just to pivot. And that's valuable, because if we hold on too long, we'll miss our next.
Mm-hmm. Well, just to speak to that, Coylette, I have tried a lot of things. And actually, when I started the Tennessee Christian Chamber, I went on a 21-day fast. At the beginning of that, I had just bought into Arbonne. You remember, it's kind of like a direct marketing company, similar to Proactive or Mary Kay.
Okay.
And then I went on this fast, and the Lord kind of directed me to launch this chamber, and I sent my Arbonne kit back. I'm like, this isn't it. I've had my real estate license, got with the wrong broker. That didn't work. I've made a lot of attempts to do other entrepreneurial things that really just didn't work. And, what's happened for me is in between those places where I'm just trying to, be my own boss and lead my own way. I have gotten in a position where I had no choice but to take an opportunity for employment that really wasn't a good fit for me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I would do my best. And honestly, what would end up happening is that I'm such a leader, creative, activator, see the big picture, strategic person, that I would start projects and needing my boss's support. And what would happen is that I would start having them reporting to me. Have you done this? Have you done this yet? I need this to get this done. And I think it was like a subconscious role reversal, and maybe some subconscious resentment in some areas. I'm not saying this was just in one employment opportunity. It was in many. So I finally realized that, being strategic and having this command mantle on me, that it's a blessing and it's a curse. And so I've just had to figure out how to forge my own way. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you're a leader, leaders lead. No matter what the situation is, leaders lead. And I have learned in my life that a lot of times, like you say, it's a blessing and a curse. Sometimes it's at the point where, well, they know you're going to do it because, you're not going to just let it sit there, right? And so people will step back just because they know you're going to do it. And then other times it's just like, what are you doing? Let's go. So I understand.
Yeah, and it's okay if I'm in a group or an organization where there's strong leadership and everything is moving smoothly, well-oiled machine. I'm good. But if there's a vacuum of leadership or direction, that's when I find myself trying to step in to be, I kind of call it a professional codependent. Let me help you, professionally succeed and give you some ideas on what to do better. I'll give you an example. We've got I live in the largest neighborhood in Alabama. We've got 3,500 homes. We have a volunteer board of directors on our POA. And it's like, okay, we have an 18-hole golf course. We have a frisbee disc golf course, 18 holes or nets, whatever you call them. We have riding stables. We have 3 pools. We have new sidewalks through the neighborhood. I think the neighborhood was established in 1971. We have our own lake, which we are responsible. The city's not responsible for maintaining. And we're looking at a $24 million improvement project on the lake, where only the membership dues are funding many of these substantial repairs. One is a golf course project that we've got to replace one of the holes. There's some drainage issues on the holes. So how do we maximize the opportunity to monetize our amenities, improve our image in the community, create some joint ventures to do some fundraising events and raise money for the POA? So these are the kind of things that I think about. The POA dues aren't going to cut it. We're never going to make it.
Right.
And then the amenities will continue to be affected. So while we still have nice amenities and we can do that, why wouldn't we want to do joint partnerships in the community? We should have a lot of support. I'm sure there's a lot of nonprofits that live in this community, representatives of those organizations. And so I made I had a conversation last week with one of the board members, and we'll see where it goes. But
have you thought of joining the board? Because I think you would be an asset to it.
Yes, I have, as a matter of fact. And it's I would rather just serve on a volunteer basis because of my commitment with the Coastal Alabama Christian Chamber now. I'm just launching that. So this has just been my second week of actually meeting with potential members, and it's been going very well. I've missed being in the community. I've established all of the the website, the app, the QuickBooks, the Canva, the MailChimp, all that stuff you need on the back end. Did my best to integrate it. So now it's at a place where I can go out and start recruiting members to build capacity for programming in Baldwin and Mobile counties in Southern Alabama. And I have missed it because I was working remotely for the last 3-4 years. And in a new community where I moved, I didn't know anybody except one person. Wow. And she and I have been friends for probably 30 years now.
Is that how you found the community?
No, actually, it just was a coincidence that she lived here, and then she was the one that prayed with me that helped me prompt the spirit of speaking in my prayer language.
Okay.
So what's really cool about, I'm going to give her a plug. Her name is Tequila.
Okay. I love it.
And
spirit to spirit.
Spirit to spirit. And so she was the only one that lived here, and her family helped me move in. I found the community. I needed a break, and I just posted on Facebook, hey, does somebody know somewhere I could go where most people wouldn't go? And Fairhope, Alabama was mentioned, and it just so happened that my friend's mother had a home here that she was, she would Airbnb for a really low rate. So I came and stayed for a week, and I'm like, this is 45 minutes from the beach. I'm a mile from I-10. It's basically a straight shot to 65 to go back home to Nashville. And the cost of living is lower down here. Of course, it's hotter and there's bigger bugs, but there's always something, pros and cons. But I just kind of fell in love with it. I came back down here about 4 or 5 more times. And it was just time to leave Nashville. It was time to sell my house. And so I had funds from my house I wanted to invest somewhere. So this was a leap of faith, honestly. And once I got down here, I really didn't even know why that God brought me down here, other than I had a prompting, to look in this direction.
So one of the things that is so important, and we are both women of faith, but it's when you leave yourself open for the leading and the guidance. We don't always understand the why. Mm-hmm. And I was always a why person. All right. And even walking with the Lord for these 37 years now, I would still, it was like, I'm not worried about how, because that's your responsibility.
Right.
So if you tell me to do it, you already know how. You don't even have to figure it out. You already know how. But my mindset was always, but why? It's like, and I think I was like that as a little girl, but why? And it's so funny. My oldest grandson, he was like that as a little boy. He would ask you a question and you would tell him, then he goes, but why?
That's so good, though. That means that they want to put the framework or structure together of what. Whenever an employer would ask me to do something, I would ask why. They didn't like that, but I wanted to know, what is.
But it would help you form whatever it is that you need to do. If I know why, then I can process how. But I need to know why.
Yes, but sometimes there isn't the answer until it reveals itself. And the part of that I really love, and I mean, I really love, is just the adventure of not knowing. It's like writing my own story. What is it that God's got me to do next? And then every day there's a little sign or there's a miracle. Some of the most amazing things have happened to me of late. And I have to say, experiencing these parallel paths where I've launched one Christian chamber in Tennessee and then launching this one, I see the parallels of how God is at work, and the reward of the faith walk. And it's just like random things. Like I was on the pier the other day and met a guy fishing. He wasn't catching. Did I tell you this?
You did. His name, yes.
Yeah. And he wasn't catching anything. And then I stood next to him and he started pulling in like about 8 catfish within like 20 minutes. And then we visited and I said, well, what's your name? And he said, Celester. I said, what? I said, I didn't tell you my name. And I'm like thinking, what is it? How does he know my name? I said, what's your name? Celester. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my name is Celeste. What are the odds? There isn't apparently a movie star named Celeste or male.
I had never heard that name before until you told me the story.
Yeah. And so just that happened. And then I went to call on Matthew Brown at Christian Brothers Automotive in Spanish Fort and about the chamber. And the next day, my exterminator comes and he asked me what I did. So I told him what I did. And I said, he said, well, I go to church at Shorelight Baptist Church. I said, do you know Matthew Brown? Because I just met him yesterday and that's where he goes to church. And these divine appointments and spiritual coincidences just have been happening. I could bore you for the rest of the hour, telling you about that. But it's how I know that I'm on the right track, always that little bit of validation. Even when you hear a sermon that correlates to a Bible study that you're, so yeah, it's pretty neat.
I call them little God winks,
Uh-huh.
It's like, I got you. let me just let you know, I got you.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm looking for some really major God winks because we're studying the Holy Spirit right now, or I should say I am in like 3 or 4 different areas at church, in a Bible study group, my own Audible books that I'm listening to. And the way that the disciples were empowered by the Holy Spirit in the early church, I'm like, how do we get there? We know that it's there, but how do we get there? And it's almost like, when people have been married before, they have a tendency to get married again more quickly if they do remarry because they're used to that. They understand what it is. People who have been wealthy, lost all their riches, and then were able to recoup their wealth. They understand what that's like. But if you've never been empowered to be the reason for a miracle, how do you know what that's like? I mean, we know from the disciples that they did it, but where do we need to be in our faith in order to get there? And that's the big question for me. That was something in my devotion this morning that I was like, well, if you've never experienced it, how do you know how to pursue it?
I think, well, this is personal, my own personal experience. I think you have to start from the precept of believing that it is possible.
Mhm.
That it, you know what I'm saying, that God is not a respecter of person, and he is the same God yesterday, today, and forevermore. And so when we go into Hebrews and they talk about without faith it is impossible to
Mhm.
please him. Why? Because you have to have the faith to believe that he is. And if
Mhm.
he is, and if he is still the same, and he said in his word that signs, wonders, and miracles follow them that believe. So if I believe you, then I should be experiencing this as well. You know,
Mhm.
and I think it comes from that place of, I believe it. I believe it, you know. So if I believe it, I'm gonna see it, you
So
know.
like
And
on a
so what
scale of 1 to 10, how do you know if you're at a 10 of believing or not? That's what I'm saying. It's like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
It's a little ambiguous, but I don't know. I mean, some of the
But
miracles.
Celeste, okay, so I can say this to you because I know you, and I
Okay.
know your story to a degree. You know, I may not
Mhm.
know the whole story, but I know enough of your story to say the fact that you're still standing,
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
fact that you're still in your right mind.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
you didn't, you know, you didn't take things that did not work out the way you had envisioned to a place of nothing's going to work, to a place of, well, I'm just not even going to try. You know what I'm saying? That says that your faith is strong
Mhm.
because you kept going.
Mhm. Yeah.
You kept going because there
Well,
was so many different instances where you could have just said, you know what, I throw up my hands. I'm
oh
just
my gosh. I mean, I guess I would say I'm probably one of the most resilient people that I do know.
absolutely,
And
absolutely.
uh, yeah, and at this point in my life, um, I just turned 63 years old, and I'm like, you know what? What have I got to lose? What have I got to lose at this point? Walking out, the next maybe 10 good years to create an impact for the kingdom. And if I'm available for God to use me, I expect that the promise is true and that He is going to use me. And so I'm
That's
at the
how you know you're at a 10.
okay.
That's how you know. Right
Mhm,
there with what you just said, that's how you know.
mhm. Well, we can't just go out there and move the world around, for our own selfish, purpose. But yeah, I wonder what those miracles are in store that He wants me to perform for Him.
It's gonna
You
be
know,
awesome.
it is going to be awesome. It
Awesome.
is.
You know, and then I think also it's important to stop and take stock of the ones that have already happened,
Mhm.
because a lot of times they may not be like these gigantic billboard things, but along the way, there's been these little miracles that you have experienced, you
Mhm.
know, when you didn't know how you were going to pay your bills, when you didn't
Micro
know how you
miracles.
were
I
going to.
love that. Did you say micro
I
miracles?
did. I did.
Ah, have you copywritten that? That's a good
It just came out.
micro
Hot off the
miracles.
prices.
I
Hot
like
off the
that.
presses right there.
That's a good one. But it's true. I mean, did I tell you about the reverend that started to come visit me that walked across my lawn? Oh my gosh, Paulette. So last Monday, it was my first week calling all these RSVPs to this event that we actually had to cancel because uh, there were some organizational changes that required us to kind of take a step back. And I go outside to get something off my front porch from Amazon, and I see this gentleman like driving around my cul-de-sac, and he sees me, he waves, and I wave back, and then he stops, gets out of his car, and he walks towards me, hands me a business card, and tells me that he and his sons are painting a house down the street. He introduces himself as Reverend Faulkner, and I'm like, oh, Reverend, he said, because I didn't know he was walking to me. I said, what you got? Before he handed me his business card, what you got for me? And when he told me who he was, I said, well, I've got something for you. Just hang on. So I ran in the house and got my Christian Chamber collateral and handed him a brochure and a card. Let me tell you, that man sat with me like I was Mary at Jesus' feet and ministered to me in my garage for 40 minutes.
Oh,
That
wow.
wasn't the miracle. The miracle was every day he came back and he did the same thing for me. And we talked about the story of Hannah. We talked about the widow with the oil.
Mhm.
And that was a day I was having a challenge calling the RSVPs because I didn't know what they would ask me about why we canceled. And he said, the prophet Elisha told her, the widow, I don't know what her name was, but just to do the
They
task.
didn't give her a name, the widow of
Her
Zarephath.
name was Celeste.
Okay.
And she had just one son, right? And
Yes, just like Celeste.
like Celeste, and wondering how she's going to pay the bills. And I'm like, how does he get this? Just like I'm like, is he talking about me or is he talking about the widow?
Okay.
And there were some moments where I'm like not really sure who he was talking about, which kind of drew me in. So he says, Elisha told her, just do the task. That's all she had the capacity to do, was just collect the vessels. And so in her obedience and faith in doing that, she, multiplied what she had and was able to sell that. And so, it's like interesting because sometimes I'm reminded, my conscience is reminded, we don't want to be putting God, before money before God.
Right.
But the marketplace is what finances the kingdom, and we need money to be able to exist.
Yeah.
So probably a reason why tithing is important, so that we're honoring God with that. But back to Reverend Faulkner, it was just an amazing blessing. He came every day of the week. We sat in my garage. I had to give him a glass of water or iced tea and turn the fan on because it was it's so hot. But beautiful.
But that was your own personal micro miracle because it
Oh
was
my
what you
God.
needed at that moment.
Yeah. And just like he just floated across, my front yard and ministered to me for a week. I mean, who gets that? That was just, yeah. I think he was maybe as much perplexed by it, as I was. But yeah, it was quite a blessing for that to happen. So one of those other micro miracles.
So that's why I'm saying if you stop and you think about it, and all of the things that God has provided and he has done in his moment, I might copyright that too. In his moment of micro miracles, it leads you, it keeps building. And the more it builds, the more you expect the big ones. Because
Right.
he's proven himself in the little ones. That's my story. It's like I came to him not at a down period of time, but because it was like, okay, if you could take care of me and watch over me and my children in my mess, okay, and I was messy, then how much more, should I just give it all to you? Seriously.
Right.
And from that, there are people, and I believe I am one of them, that really are gifted with the gift of faith, and it is one of the spiritual gifts. Is the gift of faith. And so I will faith my way through anything. I really will. And every single time he proves himself over and over again. So the faith muscle grows more and more. Like with repetition, your muscles get stronger and bolder, right? And so, and that's why I said when you stop and you look back and you think, you know what? I can't explain how I made it through that. I can't explain how that happened. Well, but it happened and you made it. And so therefore you can mark that and it'll build you to the next one.
Yes. I mean, every need shows up, supplied. When I was running the Christian Chamber in Tennessee, it was during the housing crisis. And I was thankful just to have something to get up and go to do every day. Now, I don't know. I mean, at the time, Nick was in elementary school. I'm a single mom, just trying to make a living off of, membership dues. And I don't know how it happened. My mortgage got paid. I know that there was a program for people that needed help with their mortgages back then through the state of Tennessee. And so that came up. So that provided, I don't know, about 6 or 8 months of my mortgage being paid. I don't know how I ended up, paying the bills, or I don't know how. There's no way.
But you did.
Yes. And
you didn't lose your home, and you were able to use your home to invest into your now.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And something interesting has happened today. It was a lady that I've met through my 10-week Bible study group that we're doing at church. And I think the Lord has led her to me to be the person that is going to walk alongside me with the skill sets that very similar to mine, to figure out how to grow this thing together. Here's the crazy part. So the Lord had prepared her because she and her husband were running a billiard franchise in Mobile and Baldwin County. And so their task was to create these events, participation in events, registration of events, and uh, just build membership, because you had to be a member of the billiard community, in order to participate in these activities. And so they were at bars on both sides of the bay. And so she, now we're doing this in churches, glorifying God, and she did this for 20 years.
Wow.
So she's got the skill set, but she's getting more involved in church and understanding more. I think how the power of God works. That will be a miracle. I told her, tell me what you need to get paid. We're going to ask God for it, and don't be blown away when he shows up. So an opportunity is coming for that to show up. So we might have to have a part 2 to this conversation.
I love it. I love it. One of the things that I love about being able to talk to different people like you and other lionesses that I've had on the show, is that we come from so many different places and different walks of life and different experiences. But there's a thread through all of it that says we're unstoppable. It says that, I am a daughter of the King, and I know who I am.
Amen. Yes.
I know who I am. So I did 5 podcasts
I
yesterday.
need a bumper sticker that says "Unstoppable Lioness." I need a bumper.
Wait a minute. On the back of my truck, it has Lioness Warrior Kingdom. Okay. And my place says Lioness One.
Love it.
But it's just, when you learn the value of who you are. All right. And I believe, because of my belief, that value started at your conception. Because I say this all the time, you're not here because mommy and daddy wanted to have a little fun. You're here because God strategically breathed you out into this atmosphere at a specific point in time in eternity, because he had purpose for you. And when you understand that the creator of the cosmos, okay, it's like you hear people talk about, well, the universe and all of that. No, the universe has to bow to me, because he gave me power and authority over it. Okay, because he created it, and so he could do that. So you think about an entity that grand has need of you, loves you, wanted you for a specific purpose. When you think about things like that, then you become unlimited and unstoppable, because you understand the value of your worth. You're not just here by chance. You're here to fulfill purpose. I am always in awe at you, as I said earlier in the show, your ability to pivot. Well, I tried that didn't work. So well, let's move on to the next thing. I love that in you. And like you said, you are one of the most resilient people I know, but it has served you well. It has served you well. I don't believe you've ever had a failure. I think you've always had lessons. You've never had a failure, because you just keep going, and you apply whatever the lesson was from the last thing, you apply that lesson and you just keep going. So I would love for you to just kind of talk about how you get to that place of resilience, because I believe that we have lionesses that are listening to us that are at, how do I do that? Just the same way you were asking about, how do I believe the miracles? How do I do that? How do I become resilient?
Well, I think as soon as you said that, Corlette, I'm thinking, first of all, there just wasn't an option. And secondly, I know that I just haven't found the right fit for me yet. So that is a journey and an adventure to figure out where I can activate my strengths. Uh, just part of it is being content, happy, and feeling I have purpose in what I do, something that's going to provide for my household and that is going to glorify the kingdom. Now, I've worked for different nonprofits before, and I think that I made a contribution, but then again, it was only for a season. And so, what I'm learning lately is that maybe now is the time for the harvest because I have been sowing, and I have been learning more about myself, learning more about how to align my faith in my daily walk and what that means to benefit, how that will benefit me personally. I don't know if this is making any sense because I'm just speaking, but um, if I mean, I did some scandalous things, in my life. In my
Who
life,
hasn't?
probably I don't know. I might leave a memoir after I die.
I wrote the book and I'm still alive. Okay.
But it's like, and I was journaling about this morning. Is that those were times and places where my faith had waned, and I was looking to the world to comfort me or satisfy me or escape, or when I didn't have direction or I didn't have purpose, and instead of leaning into my faith, I would backslide a little bit. And I'll be honest, I'm not saying that it didn't happen between the Tennessee Christian Chamber and the Coastal Alabama Christian Chamber, but part of that is the Lord just resurrecting the spirit in me, and actually running this organization keeps me in tune. I cannot be a poser. I have to have integrity in my walk because for those, who are called, much is, what is the
To
expression?
whom much is given, much is required.
Yes, thank you. And so I can't, in my good conscience, be anything but 100% in alignment with my faith. And so that's the beautiful thing about me leading this is that God is also working on me. I'm not just going out there to sell memberships to people to pay my bills. I'm going out there to hear their story and their testimony and figure out how I can serve in a custom way that I can engage what their heart and purpose is under the umbrella of the Christian Chamber, because this is a hub, and without the people, there is no programming. So I guess you could say I've been building the ark, waiting for God to send
For the
angels.
rain.
Yeah, waiting for the rain. And it's so crazy, really, too, when your mind is focused in the right place, and I guess I can just speak for me is that what I'm doing right now gives me context to build my faith. As I'm learning more and reading more and studying more and fellowshipping more, it's all making more sense. In the context of the Coastal Alabama Christian Chamber, and so I'm just happy to be here. The resilience, I think, is just a matter of, gosh, I mean, how many people in the Bible were written about that? Even Job was like, I still believe in the Lord after He's taken everything from me, and Paul was fine the way he was. He was fine as Saul, but God was preparing him for that moment in time, and it was like a lightning bolt. You are now Paul. Is your season now.
At Damascus Road experience.
Yeah, and we think about Esther. The time I so resonate with Esther, and I've been doing a lot of studies on women in the Bible lately, and it's there's a few that aren't in there that in this particular book, but so I looked into Deborah a little bit. Deborah, the only judge, and yeah. Powerful stories of I mean, she redeemed the people of Israel for a whole nother 40 years, I think. I guess in the Bible that might be like 4 million years. I don't know. But yeah, it's just encouraging. Like I said, Reverend Faulkner kind of awakened that in me to see myself in some of these biblical stories, to give me that resilience, to understand that, you know, all of the hurts and pains of the past are for a reason. And as long as I'm trying to find my place where my skills, talents, and abilities come to work for the kingdom, I'm good. You know, then I know I'm doing everything that I can do to be the person that I can be, to be blessed, to be prosperous, to minister to other people, to build community, to advance the kingdom with other people like me, like you, like the women that you have on your program. So I'm in a good place, and you know, whether I live to be 70 or 100, I know whatever time I've got left, I want God to do what He wants to do with me. So I'm like, come on, Lord, let's go.
I
I'm
want
ready
to
for
ask
the
you a
ride.
question. It was asked of me yesterday on one of the podcasts that I was interviewed on, and I'm going to ask you the same question. How do you, because from a business perspective, because you've been involved in multiple businesses and stuff, how do you, from a business perspective, like without, you know, beating anybody over the head with the word and preaching all the time or whatever, how do you resonate your faith in the midst of what you do?
Well, you know, I think that the first thing is whoever I'm talking to, I do my best to ask questions and to listen and to understand first before being understood. I will
Mm.
spend, and
Wait,
it's
wait,
all,
wait, wait, back up, back up, back up. Say that again. I like that. Say that again.
I try to understand who I'm speaking to. What,
First,
yes,
before you're understood.
yes,
I
yes.
like that.
They know why I'm there, but I think it kind of throws them off because I've had conversations with people recently, visiting them about the Christian Chamber, about, well, tell me about what's your testimony? You know, what's your faith walk? Why is the Christian Chamber important to you? How do you see yourself connecting to this? And, you know, tell me about your family. I found out my first appointment for the Coastal Alabama Christian Chamber was with a Primerica representative, and he told me, you know, kind of his faith journey, where he went to church, how it started out, what was good, what was bad. He went to a Unity Church, a Prosperity Church, and then he tells me that his daughters go to City Hope College. And I'm like, well, I go to City Hope Church. Who are your daughters? Well, his daughter is the one of the worship leaders. And if I hadn't asked that, there would have been no common, you know, connection. So you got to figure out who you're talking to and kind of where they're at. And then the other thing is, you know, when I was working with the marriage ministry, I would get couples that would, well, not couples that would call me. It'd either be the husband or the wife because they were in crisis. And, you know, I would just spend my time listening because they had such a burden in their marriage that they're hoping someone will understand. And so before I ever leave a person in my presence, I will always ask them if I can pray with them. So you know, every time a husband or a wife called, I wasn't trying to sell them anything. I was just trying to let them lay down their burdens, know that someone was interceding for them. I know because that's how I got saved. I mean, when people would intercede for me and I would hear them praying on my behalf, that was a powerful, powerful thing for me, that somebody's actually talking to God about me. How special is that? So gosh, I've had some powerful prayers already. I mean, I'm glad that you asked that because there was a gentleman that I spoke to that his wife was estranged from her son for the last 2 years, and I've been hearing a lot of this lately, and single moms who are concerned for their sons, who they're dating, the influence of their father, who they're not married with anymore. It's crazy. It's been like 4 moms that have been talking to me about this, and I'm a single mom. The difference is that my son has never met his father, so we don't have those same challenges, but still there's been opportunities for me to, I guess maybe the gift of wisdom
Mhm.
might be something. It's hard for me sometimes to share that and still be perceived as humble,
Mm.
because you don't want to be telling everybody what you know, what you think, what your experience has been, but in humility, find a way to be able to share your wisdom, to minister to other people. And so always asking permission to pray, which is one thing I learned with marketplace chaplains or corporate chaplains of America or any marketplace chaplaincy, is that they can't just pray with employees without asking their permission first.
True. And we're at the end of the show.
Oh, wow.
This is good. This is good. We have to do this again. We have to do this again because we're out of time. But I love that. I just want to encourage the lionesses that have watched this show to understand that resilience is yours. Okay. It's part of who you are because you're a woman. And so you need to stand in that and just know that whatever has happened to you or around you, it has not defined you. You're defined as a daughter of the King, and you are an unstoppable lioness. Thank you for your time, Celeste. Thank you, viewers, for your viewership, and we love you. We'll see you later.